I think we'll get started here. It's a minute after 1 o'clock here in Texas in the United States. I want to welcome everyone. Thanks, all of you, for joining us in this episode of the Divi Community Sessions. This is already our 5th official one. I can't believe how fast the time is flying by. We do have a lost episode number 0. That was kind of our testing thing, and it involved Geno, so this will be kind of a rehash, I guess you could say. And we do have Geno with us today, and during today's session, not only will you get to know Geno a little better, we'll be talking with him about business practices, the WordPress themes from Elegant Themes. Not only that, we'll get some real insight from Geno on what this community is doing and what we might be able to expect coming soon. But in the meantime, if you have questions that you are struggling with, business concepts, CSS questions, whatever, you can go ahead and ask while we're doing this. So welcome, Geno. Thanks for being with us today.
Right on. Thanks, man. I'm stoked and a little bit nervous. It's easier to ask questions than it is to answer, but
I totally agree with that. Absolutely. Dip chair, that's for sure.
Yeah, always is. Never gets easy for me anyways.
Right. Well, those that know you pretty well understand that you have a leadership role in your local community as a pastor. And at this point, your Monterey Premier venture is now pretty much a global focus, which sort of contrasts with your local role. How did the idea of Monterey Premier get started in your mind? And how do those two aspects of your life dictate what you do every day?
Yeah, man. Well, pretty cool. Yeah, I've been involved in ministry for several years now, I guess going on almost maybe 8 or 9 years. Mm-hmm. And it's, really allowed me, I've been able to take on some roles within the community that allowed me to just dig into community, the needs of the community, working with people. You see, before I got involved in ministry or anything like that, I was pretty much a sales and analyst guy, all business, and kind of really not connected to what was going on with community and needs and whatnot, just kind of all about work and business. And when I got involved in ministry, it really changed my life in a way that allowed me to start connecting with people, not in a sales way, but in a genuine way. And so that really was a life changer for me. And so connecting it with Monterey Premier, I think what it's done is carrying over those values and principles that I've began to acquire being involved in many people over into what I do online. And I think most people know I'm not thumping people on the head with the Bible in all the groups. but I do try to maintain that integrity and that same genuine personality that I am here locally. And I think that's what's kind of made Monterey Premier take off and be a sort of a trusted entity. Same with the tutorials and whatnot. And so it's really interesting and challenging because there's a lot of, being in ministry, there's a lot of demand and need for time, and it's what I want to do. So
that community involvement that you had with your pastor role and seeing that there's a real need, a benefit to helping the community, not just taking from the community as far as sales and marketing goes, but you find more satisfaction and you get greater results when you're actually helping the community. Is that kind of what you're saying there too?
Absolutely. And I didn't expect that to have the kind of impact. It wasn't like I planned it. It was, I just kind of got in there and started feeling pretty good about helping people. And then mostly my stance was encouraging people because that's kind of my gifting here in ministry and locally is, people have often told me you're just a real big encouragement. And so I kind of go with that and kind of taken on that role as encouraging people, both in ministry. I'm sort of like a pastor to pastors here. I get calls from local pastors and that don't feel like they can share certain private things with members of their congregation, and so I'll spend hours on the phone with other pastors, and so just more of an encouragement, and so that's what I tried to do in Divi theme users when I first got involved was just encouraging people, because a lot of people are new to web design that use Divi, and it was all about encouraging people and helping them with stuff. I never planned that it would unfold into the business growth that kind of came out of that at all. I had no intention of that, but it's kind of how it happened.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you're moving along really fast, and I think that you found that the attitude that you just described is actually probably more beneficial to everyone and business growth as well, a combination of helping and community, and then boom, you're just skyrocketing.
Yeah, one thing I would encourage people is before just kind of rushing to market with products is it really helps to be a trusted source of encouragement and resources because I never really had to market, product when I finally got into that field because people just sort of, trusted me and kind of knew my name. And, a lot of my clients these days already know who I am. I'm not getting new clients that are local and want a website. I'm getting Divi users who've been following my tutorials and have been following along and say, I often hear that, man, I already trust you. I already, feel like you're pretty open and honest. And, and so it's paid off. It's really paid off.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Works pretty good. Since we are a global community, sometimes name pronunciations can get a little weird across the language barriers. How do you actually pronounce your last name? Is it Italian or Spanish?
I'm gonna guess Quiroz.
There you go.
That's what I was gonna say if it's Spanish.
I tell people, listen, don't worry about trilling the R. Just think of key, the word key, and dos. And if you say it fast enough, it sounds like you're trilling the R. Quiroz.
I've lived in Texas all my life, and I still can't roll my R's like that. So it comes out like a double D or something.
Yeah, I can't do it
either. I have a speech impediment. All right. Speaking of names, is loosely related. Just can you briefly describe what your family is like to us, just a little bit, if you don't mind?
Okay, let me look and make sure nobody's listening. Okay. My immediate family, my wife and two kids, we're kind of all in ministry together, and so it's really neat. I got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, two boys, an amazing wife who's just super supportive. She homeschools, and she's amazing. She's got a major in psychology, and she was willing to give up that to raise our kids at home and support my business.
Oh my goodness.
And
that's great.
Yeah, she's the brains of the family, and she's definitely, allows me to do this and is super supportive. So that's kind of our household. We moved to Monterey from Southern California for the purpose of ministry. We came up here as missionaries. And, she, before we had kids, she was directing a woman's director for a women's shelter that took on people it's a 12-month residency program.
Oh, wow.
And, nice. So she had that role, and I helped with the organization's business administration and did counseling with some of the guys on the guys side of the program. And, but as soon as we had kids, she slowly stepped away and took on the role of, just really taking care of them. Our youngest had a lot of health issues, and so he needed like 24/7 care. And so, and then we just kind of rolled with it. As far as my greater family, the larger family, we're a loud, rambunctious group. lots of very loud personalities.
Personality.
It's all walks of earth. We got the crazy uncles and the crazy hats. I'm a crazy uncle now too, but in a different way. But yeah, so most of my family's in Southern California, with a both my mom and dad's side, both of Mexican descent. Both my mom and dad were born here in the States, and actually so were my grandparents on both sides. But then it goes back, when you go back a couple more generations, is where you have a lot of the family members born in Mexico. My wife, on the other hand, she was born in the Philippines, moved out here when she was in high school, and so we consider our kids Mexipinos.
I
My little
love
Mexipinos.
it. I love it. I love it. Oh man, that is so cool. Well, obviously you have a good attitude on life, because anytime I see one of your pictures on Facebook or anywhere, I'm just immediately in a good mood. You have such a welcoming. You just look at me and I welcome you. That kind of thing. It's so awesome. You're our happy developer designer.
Yeah.
Even that prom
Jolly.
picture you
Jolly.
posted. Yeah, exactly. That prom picture you posted yesterday. I'm like, that guy was happy even back then in high school when most people are not happy. That is awesome. So obviously you're doing some fun things. So other than playing guitar, what do you do for fun and relaxation and whatever spare minute or two that you can find?
Well, these days, it's any spare time goes to making family memories. So that's pretty much, whether it's trying to get out and go camping or go down to the beach, that's really what we love to do, is go hit the zoo or go down and do road trips. We love road trips. Believe it or not, we did a long road trip in December. We rented a place in Oregon and stayed up there for like 2 weeks and visited some friends. And then we went up to Seattle and visited some friends up there, some family up there. And we traveled down to Southern California 3 or 4 times a year and make like a week-long trip out of it. And my kids, their biggest, if they had a choice in what to go do, it would be go stay at a hotel somewhere. They just love hotels and swimming pools, and they have their routine. Get in there, jump on the bed, unplug the phone so they can play with it, and start drawing on all the stationery. Then it's like, when do we go down to the pool?
Right, exactly. My kids' routine is as soon as we unload, they go find the ice machine.
Yeah.
A little Indiana Jones kind of thing going on there.
Yeah. Well, that which brings up another point. I don't know if you've ever seen the background of some of my photos. I'm a movie aficionado, so we love just kind of having family movie night a couple times a week where we just hang out, bust out some popcorn, and do movies here. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do. So I love movies.
Yeah, awesome.
Me too.
Got a good balance going on there, and that's the way it should be. All right. Well, while we're all talking, if anybody has those questions they want to ask, go right ahead. We have several moderators here in the chat area. So while we're doing that, let's dive a little deeper into Geno in regards to Monterey. Considering, Geno, that you've created a successful and popular marketing idea with Monterey Premier, can you describe a little bit about what goes into running a marketplace? And maybe could you tie in what your typical daily workflow is like with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's when I didn't think that running a marketplace would be something I would be interested in doing initially. And although I had been approached on numerous occasions over the last year to do something, I was just like, it seems like too much work, and maintaining. But when I decided that, there were a couple of vendors, including Leslie, that I, wanted to be able to showcase her products on my website, I started to set it up to be a multi-vendor marketplace, just so I can have a few people, I'd just receive their cut right off the bat, and I wouldn't have to do any administration. And in that process, within those few days, I decided I'm going to make it a multi-vendor marketplace. It's kind of how Monterey Premier started. One day I decided I want to reach out to local businesses instead of just Divi users. And 3 days later, Monterey Premier was created, the business name was registered, and the website was launched. And it's kind of how Monterey Premier's Marketplace started. It was just like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go full board. And so that's kind of how the Marketplace started, which is only a few weeks old. And but I found it very fascinating learning all the different stuff that we can do with running a marketplace, basically automating as many processes as possible. And I'm thinking, man, this could really be a one-man show and not take up my whole day. And so that's been really fun, and learning all those new tools and resources. So what does a typical day look like for me now? Well, that's changed rapidly over this last 3 months. Prior to this year, I was still running the back office service company, which I was slowly letting move to the wayside, transitioning those customers over to new people, the bookkeeping, administration, that kind of stuff. And I knew I was going to focus on just the web design side of business this year. But that changed drastically. So over these last couple months, I've sort of knocked my web design time from about 8 hours a day to only about 3 to 4 hours a day. I'm now, so what a typical morning looks like for me is I get up and I focus on correspondence, looking at the emails, responding. California, I'm the last one awake in the whole world. So, except for my Hawaiian
Geno, where you been all day?
Yeah. So I'm 100 steps behind all the time. So I get up, respond to everybody, and you know, look at social media, look at the Slack accounts, and kind of respond to everybody. So I've taken care of that thing. Then I'm finding I spend a few hours now focusing on the marketplace, or you know, covering tasks that are unbillable, like setting up email accounts, transferring domain names. You know, I'll focus on a particular side of the marketplace. Like recently, I set it up so that people can, you know, look at a product and contact the vendor directly if they have questions about the product and that kind of stuff. You know, cool little features that add to the process for both the customer and the vendor. And then usually about I schedule my calls between 11 and 2. So that's kind of, I just try to focus on that, 11 and 2 o'clock for my consulting calls or client calls or follow-up calls. And then from 2 on is I focus on my web design stuff. And so it's been a really interesting change, but it's been fun, man. It's been a lot of fun, kind of doing new things.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Does your the phone schedule time that you just mentioned, does that stay pretty much like that? Do you have a problem with people wanting to call you at really weird hours? Whenever they want. Sunday nights at 11 p.m., you know, things like that.
Yeah, you know, I've been really lucky. I do get new client calls, inquiries at random times. Obviously, they're going to call at random times. But for my existing clients, they've been very respectful of my time. And I'll get an email saying, hey, do you have time this week to connect? And they've all been really good about working with my schedule. They respect my time, and we have established good relationships. And so for those other calls, to be honest, I let them go through voicemail most of the time. I thought about hiring a phone service to take the call, so that way somebody answers. But I do get about 10, 15 calls a day, and not all of them leave messages, but 2 or 3 that do, I'm able to follow up and schedule a call meeting with them. And so that's worked out pretty good.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that does sound pretty good. Corey had a question for you. How and why did you learn CSS? I guess that would come about as you're starting to do development. So why get so deep into CSS? And it's obvious you've become pretty good at it, looking at all of your child themes and your marketplace and everything else. How did that get started?
Good question. I started out as a front-end designer more than anything. And so, yeah, it wasn't like I was very experienced with CSS. So in 2012, when I got into when I got involved with WordPress and started to up my knowledge of modern HTML and CSS, it was really the CSS that I was if I wanted to make changes, it was all related to CSS. So I would say the folks who got my feet off the ground were Elegant Theme support. At that time, there was no Divi, and so support was pretty fast, really fast.
Yeah.
And so I worked with several themes: the Chameleon, the Professional, Aggregator, and I'd have these far out requests from my clients, and so everything would be fully customized, and basically every customization I asked ET support, and yeah, I took advantage of that. They knew me on a first name basis for a while there.
They're probably like, look at this guy now.
yeah, and so I just learned in there, and I figured out, what I was doing, what the different, the classes that they were using, their methods, their styles. And so really that's how I got my start. And then pretty soon, I'd be looking for cool stuff. What I started doing is I looked through the forum to look for features that people were asking for. Yeah. And that's how I started learning new things. Like, somebody asked how to make a call to action button. And I'd go look at the answer, and I'd, make a note, keep it in my notepad. And then when somebody in the Facebook group asked, I'd just basically copy and paste their answer. And so, that's kind of how I started picking up on those CSS skills. And, that just sort of became my niche because it's so tied into front end design, much more than PHP or JavaScript.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
That's the direction I'm going is PHP. I'm starting to learn how to build my own templates and stuff like that now. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Are you still doing any white label services? Or you did mention that you do spend some time doing design work.
Yes. So I'm still designing, and I would say now about 90% of the work I do is for white label services. I go on a direct project, not very often. That's why occasionally you'll see me post a project or two, but not as much as I used to because it's all white label now. So I, can't necessarily share the work on my own. Exactly. But yeah, that's really taken off. The only reason I'm able to fit in the smaller direct projects or even a big one every now and then, National Infantry Museum lasted like 6 months, is, being able to already pre-made. So if somebody comes to me locally with a budget of like $2,000 or something like that, I'm able to work with them because I have, these templates now, these child themes that I can use. It's mostly white label. And it's great because basically they're providing me the work. I'm not having to go out and hustle or, we establish the work arrangement right up front. And moving forward, it works great, and so I got about eight clients now that are feeding me work on a regular basis.
That's awesome.
And really nice.
That
really
was a game
nice when it works like that.
Can I ask you something, just to branch off of something you just said? You said for like clients who maybe have like a $2,000 budget and you get to, that's when you can pull something. Do you let them choose from yours, or do you even tell them like, hey, I have this kind of pre-built look, or how do you approach that? Or is it different with every client?
It is different with every client. Some of them like a look and feel, or because I have sort of a variety of templates, what I'm able to do is typically this is how it works. Okay, I'll get on the Skype session with the client or a join me session. They will send me a couple links already. I will have some things to look at, and they'll point out what they like about it. And I'll show them some sites I've done, or I'll show them other sites, or I'll show them the child themes, and like section by section, it's like, what do you think about this header? What do you think about this menu? What do you think about this blog section? And so I'll piece it together in my mind and in their mind, and then I know the beeps galore. I saw that. I don't know how to mute my beeps. Chat, if you can chime in and tell us how to mute it, I will mute my end. But And then so what I do is, like, if you'll look at the latest project, I used McMinnville, the latest project I posted in Elegant Divi User Community, which
Uh-huh.
was, I know for those that are listening down the line, I should probably say the name of that site, CISEC, ConnieCISEC.com, CONN, you know what, I'll just paste the link in here.
Yeah.
And it's ConniCISEK.com. And what that is that's actually McMinnville, but I pulled in some pieces here and there from Pacific Grove, and actually that was the only other one. I pulled in some pieces from Pacific Grove, and basically
Oh.
was able to kind of, so it looks nothing like McMinnville. I swapped out that header image with the slider. I got rid of the transparent background on the menu, and I don't have an overlapping logo. So I did some tweaks to it, of course.
Okay.
But yeah, so it captured the look and feel she wanted that we discussed, but I already had this in sort of built already. So it's just a matter of tweaking the colors and some of the modules. So it's not necessarily the child theme. It's still customized,
It's still
but it
customized.
saved me, yeah, but it saved me about 10 hours on the project.
Yeah. That's cool.
Right, exactly. And that's made a comment about that. You know, it seems like a lot of people are on a real development budget, I guess you could say. My client doesn't have a lot of money. Well, one of the comments that I made of why you have to invest in a child theme. You got this knocked out in a day. Maybe you spend another couple of hours doing some minor tweaks and things like that. But you already had the basis of a website done with a child theme. And then with the modularity that Divi and Extra have, you can just take little parts, like we were talking about Lego blocks last week. Just take those little parts, throw them together, and boom, you've got a $2,000 website that you did in just about a day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it pays off, you know, even if you're building child themes and you're not selling like you thought you would, it pays off just to have them anyways in your arsenal.
Yeah. That's a good point.
You've already done your child theme
Yeah.
Reese on a
Yeah,
project,
I've
right?
used them, and I'm kind of just starting out, trying out offering like a web package, you know, where it's sort of all inclusive, where they can kind of choose the child theme, and I do the hosting and maintenance. So I'm just now starting to try that out. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a line of pivot the use of them and keep gaining from, you know, each one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I like that idea of doing the packages. I never thought about including, you know, we'll install it. I just kind of say it, you know, in the instructions, but the way you're marketing it is awesome.
Well, I shouldn't take all the credit. I stalked several people, Nathan being one of them. And I think he even had his, Nathan from Elegant Child Themes. I think he might have even had that product buried. It's like, it's not a direct link. And I found it, like his web packages. And I was like, okay. So, so yeah, I will say I definitely got some inspiration.
Well, David's got a question here, too, and this reminds me, talking about child themes, there's also the Divi layout packs, and David and Corey over there at Aspen Groves have just an amazing set of layout packs that aren't exactly child themes, but David wants to know how developing child themes has helped your business overall, do you know?
Yeah, good question. You know, the first impact it had is, if you recall, when we started doing this, Melissa started this. Melissa Love started the whole Divi child theme industry. She was selling them on her site. We all wanted to do the same, but it really never, as a community, I remember the question kept coming up, well, how do we do this? How do we get involved? What do we do? That was the whole idea of creating a marketplace last year, was so that we could encourage and have a place where people can, you know, showcase their stuff. And so when I had the first one up and running, and then a couple more, I didn't have a lot of sales because there was still a lot of controversy about pricing, about purpose, about use.
Yeah.
And for the first 8 months, this went on. For the first 7 or 8 months, lots of controversy and questioning. It even created some splits in the groups, unfortunately. But what I saw immediately was, that's how I started getting my first white label clients. They're like, dude, this guy creates child themes. We don't know what they are, but he's building themes. So he must be good. And then they're like, well, if he builds these child themes and sells them pre-built as templates, why can't we do that? And we can offer templates to our clients and have Geno build them for us. And so that's when I started getting calls from the next level of client. And so from a marketing perspective, it was a huge impact on my business overall. And even now, so to this day, when I get a call from somebody who doesn't know me that well, I'll point them to some of my, not only my portfolio, but I say, look at these child themes I build. And it's a pretty much seal the deal kind of thing now. Once they see my child themes and that what I'm producing and actually selling as products, it's pretty much a seal the deal kind of thing. So it's helped tremendously. And now that we've kind of set the sort of child themes are established, they're accepted now, and people now understand the price behind it, what goes into it. We've gotten it into enough people's hands. I had one guy contact me yesterday and said he's building this fourth website using McMinnville, and he's only had it for a couple of months, and so he was pretty excited about it and just sharing that.
Do those come with, do your child themes, Geno, come with unlimited usage licenses, or is it one child theme license per site developed?
Unlimited usage. Yeah. We don't want to, we think that's what sort of separates it from other.
Envato?
Yeah, exactly.
That is amazing. That brings exponentially more value to a child theme purchase from this community. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You were talking.
As people get more familiar with it, like this client, he said it's sped up his development time because now he knows the ins and outs of it. So when he installs it, he can fully customize it in a short amount of time. And that's one of the benefits of being able to use it over and over and over again with no additional cost.
And that's another thing too. I'm sure you've had emails or comments similar, but I had someone email me who purchased one of mine and said that they had learned a lot just kind of from dissecting and looking at the CSS. So it's also kind of a tool, if there's features in it that they really like, and they can kind of look and see how it was done, so that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I've initially marketed it as a learning tool for anybody who wanted to kind of learn how to do these things and replicate them in an easy way. Because some things are a little bit too, there's too many steps to make a quick and easy tutorial, sometimes. And so it helps just to be able to pick it apart yourself. And I comment everything out. It's probably loaded overkill, but the whole purpose is for people to understand and for me to quickly point people into the right place to make an adjustment.
Well, that's the way I would do it. I think you're doing the whole community a favor if you're able to document what's going on within your products. I can't stand looking at code that's not indented right or not commented, and really weird variable names, no standards, things like that. So that's very much something I can appreciate, and obviously it's something all of your clients and the community as a whole also appreciate.
Cool.
Geno, you were talking earlier about maybe having someone handle your phone calls. And since Monterey is growing and the scope is just increasing, how many people do you have working for you right now, if more than just you? You've got to have a need for people in sales and marketing, accounting, legal, planning, all that kind of stuff.
Good question. Yeah. So right now, I get to run most of the business. Fortunately, I have a background in sales and marketing and a background in accounting. And so, and I was a business administrator for a couple of different companies before, I launched this business. So I oversaw, in those roles, I oversaw, human resources, I oversaw insurance, I oversaw payroll. So I have that full business background, everything from the legal side of things to the creative and sales and marketing side of things. And so I think that's what's really helped me to be able to take on the load that I have and sort of have my fingers in everything. But as many of you know, I do work with a number of individuals like Leslie, who I approached at last year. Was it last year or the year before? It's all going by so fast now.
I think it was last year. Yeah,
Yeah,
it feels like.
So Leslie I had approached because I love her designs, and I always have. You know, you talk about stalking. Well, I remember when her first article came out on Elegant Themes, a girl in her back. And I remember looking at that site going, man, I love the way she does all this flat stuff. And I was just trying to get away from my style and do more flat stuff. And I'm still not that good at it. But I loved it. And I remember I would go to that page often, look at the pricing plans and all the way you had it set up. And one day I scrolled down to the bottom and I'm like, and don't steal my shit.
I was just about to mention that.
I'm like, oh, snap. She caught on to me. So I started going to that website for a while.
That's hilarious.
But when she got involved in the groups and started getting involved, I reached out to her and said, hey, you know, can we work together? Maybe do a child theme or maybe help me out because I'm not a Photoshop guy. I'm not really a design guy. I sort of just build it as I go. Mm-hmm. And I had clients that want to see something up front, and I'm like, I can't think of anybody better than Leslie to help me come up with the design, you know, beforehand. And so we did a couple projects together, and so that was really cool. And so we kind of the roles have kind of changed. You know, Leslie, you're so busy now. I don't think you'd even have time to do anything like that. But some of you, if you haven't seen it in a while, we've updated it because Leslie has been a real support to me as far as strategy and bouncing ideas off of and getting a feel for what she's seeing as far as in the community. And so now she's more of a strategist for me and helps me to keep a pulse on it because things are so busy. You know, and then I work with a couple developers.
Yeah, tell us about your. I don't know all the people. I recognize you know the names like Mohit and Bhuvanesh, but you've got like a Dana D'Amato on your team and Chris Larson. Tell us about how the their little team came about and.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So obviously most of you guys know Mohit. He's the developer to developers as well, another one, and we worked together a little bit last year, year before. He'd help me out with some things here and there, but he was really busy, and so I started working with Bhuvanesh, and he was it's great. It was really great, and we were working on a lot of projects together, and he was helping me out with stuff I just didn't have time to learn or do on the development side. But then he got married towards the end of last year and disappeared on me. and so things were going great for him. He got married, and it was a wonderful season for him. And so that's when I started working with Mohit more often. And so it's great now. We have a great regular working relationship with both of them. Dana D'Amato, I came across her because I was working with one of my clients has a huge blogging website. And she was their content writer. And at the time when I decided to launch Monterey Bay Fun, I wanted somebody who would be able to provide content, provide blog posts. And so I reached out to her, and so she's kind of she took on that role last year and has helped me sort of strategize with the blog and with that kind of stuff. And so this year we're going to be expanding into helping me with social media. That's one of her specialties and strengths. She's a lifestyle writer and blogger, and she's works for some popular magazines and like I don't know if you've heard of Travel magazine. She does a lot of stuff for them. She's been featured on television and regarding fashion and events and stuff like that. So she really knows her stuff, and it's just been great working with her. And on occasion, if I need help with content, which I don't provide as a regular service, she's my go-to for that. And so I'm able to utilize her gifts with content. Chris Larson is a local here in my area who has dabbled in WordPress and for a business I used to work for and I did accounting for, and he managed their WordPress site. So we've had a lot of great conversations, and he wanted to get his started learning more about WordPress. He's never worked in Divi. He's outside of the Divi community, which is really neat to work with somebody that was outside of the Divi community. And basically, he's come alongside. Not only does he provide content for Monterey Bay Fun, he does several posts a week, but he helps me out when I'm in a bind that I have. For example, if somebody makes a change that's going to affect 30 or 40 pages and that we have to go in and adjust or rearrange all 30 or 40 pages of a website, he'll get in there and bust out that kind of work for me. So that way I'm not stuck doing something repetitive and boring all day. I can stay on the creative side and have him help me bust out those kinds of repetitive projects. So that's been really neat. And let's see. And then new to the group, I don't have him listed on the team, but I believe he's in here listening. Jerry is a buddy of mine from Southern California, another pastor who pastors a Calvary Chapel Living Water in Southern California. And he reached out to me recently about wanting to get involved in WordPress and what we're doing. And so he's coming on board. And this guy's a whiz, and it's really neat. So because of him, I'm actually going to be able to offer website maintenance plans, which I've avoided for the longest time. And we're setting something up together where not only is he going to be able to help me with the development stuff, but now we're going to set up some regular maintenance plans that he's going to oversee and sort of manage for me, and including launching his own web design startup business as well. So it's pretty neat. So we all work independently as independent contractors for each other. So there's no kind of you work exclusively for me. In fact, I promote their websites, their businesses, and oftentimes will refer clients directly to them if I think it's a better fit. So it's really worked out great to have team instead of employees, and it's been just phenomenal. Really helped me out a lot.
Sounds like you're able to, with that arrangement, able to tap into different sources of talent when you can, rely on each other as you have time. Maybe one person is better at this or that. Sounds like a fantastic arrangement instead of employees like you're talking about. That way you're all helping each other.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, Leslie. Is it? Or have I been a pain in the butt? I know others in here would say, no, working with Geno's a pain in the butt.
No, it's honestly, you're one of the easiest people to work with. So, and yeah, it's fun. And I think anybody in this kind of field, whether it's writing or designing or developing, we all kind of have that creative personality, and it's good to just kind of feed off of each other. So it's a good way to work.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, I just worked with Tammy on a project, and she caught me at a really bad time because I was cranky and I've been overwhelmed, and my site was down the other day, and she's trying to, get information from me so she can, complete the process, and I'm like, what's the word? What did I say, Tammy? Evasive and cranky. But anyways, we handed that over. She's yeah, those are the words you used. Anyways, Tammy really came through in the clutch, and I was grumpy and cranky last week, but she provided phenomenal speed results on National Infantry Museum, which was a very slow-loading site, a beautiful design by Andrea Walker. I don't know if she's still in here or not, but we just never optimized it. And Tammy went in there and was like, "What the?" And she did an amazing job optimizing it. And so it is great being able to work with amazing, gifted people who are so much better at these things that I'm not.
Right. Cool. Good job, Tammy. Let's get kind of more back into the Divi community as a whole. I can't believe we're already 45 minutes into this. This is great. I really appreciate you taking the time, Geno. We're learning a lot, not just about Divi, but about business as well, and that's part of the focus of these sessions. So let me consolidate 2 or 3 questions here that I have written down for you.
Cool. While you do that, I noticed Craig had a question. I'm not really keeping up on the questions because I'm talking. I'm hoping hoping we're catching everything. But I did see Craig. Yeah, do you guys have any plans to maybe bundle some of your slightly older themes and pay what you want bundle? I don't think we're going to be doing the pay what you want scheme. I don't know if that model is going to work with us, but we will offer some bundle packages every now and then. Right now, I'm in the process of revamping some of those older child themes to. We're starting to build some of our customization features in the customizer instead of just in the style sheet. And we're going to be providing automatic update features as well. And so those will be rolling out pretty soon over the next couple months. But we may offer some bundle packages. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I've thought about that too.
Well, TMZ reported that you were seen with the bigwigs at Elegant Themes there in California recently. Yeah, I'm up late, so I've got TMZ on. And we have photos and social media to confirm it. So, first of all, what is Nick Roach like?
Inquiring minds.
Yes.
Those guys, I only got to meet Nick and Mitch and Andy, of course, Nathan Weller as well. And those guys, I was super nervous. I didn't know what to expect, And first of all, Nathan, I think we all can tell he's a pretty fun and genuine guy. I learned so much about Nathan. We got to spend basically the whole day together on Monday. And I got to show him around Big Sur and downtown Monterey and come by the office. And the guy was just an amazing guy. I encouraged him to hurry up with the podcast about himself because I'm like, with all his stories and experience, I was like, dude, are you like 50? Because you have like 50 years experience in so many different areas. The guy's a really smart guy, and he just had some interesting stories, like taking a year off just to go on sabbatical and just read books for a year and decide if he was going to continue doing podcasting. And he read hundreds of books and just, stayed away from his girlfriend and everything. And just amazing stories. I'm like, dude, who does that? That's pretty wild. And really deep, the philosophy and stuff that came out of that was pretty interesting. And I learned a lot from that visit. But then we get there on Tuesday, and it was really cool. So San Francisco's really crazy, especially parking and all that. So we parked a couple blocks away. I didn't realize it was a couple blocks away. But those guys walked over, met us in the parking garage, and just right away were like, hey, Geno, and just very friendly and warm, and like, let's go get some coffee. You guys want coffee? Sure. So it took me like 5 long city blocks. They're like used to it. I'm like huffing and puffing, carrying my backpack.
Where's the public transportation?
Yeah.
Where's that trolley?
But man, it was so cool. So we went to this coffee shop that was really cool, and right away, and they were talking the whole way and making me feel like less nervous. But as soon as we got there, man, they just shared all kinds of stuff and what they're doing and whatnot. And Nick announced the marketplace, but more into detail later, so I can't talk much about that. But it's one of the very first things he mentioned right off the bat. I don't know if Nathan told you, but this is what we're doing. I'm like, wow. And he said it in a nice, friendly way. Like, it was really cool. And, man, they were just very personable. And we went back to the office and, we get in and I'm still kind of nervous. And Nick's like, you want to see what I'm working on? I'm like, oh, hell yeah. And so I get to go over to his computer and he shows me these cool things, man. And it was really neat. And you know what? They're all very genuine. Mitch was very genuine, and we discussed music. As they're like, what kind of music you like? And I'm like, well, I listened to a lot of stuff. Bob Dylan was one of my favorite growing up. Like Bob Dylan, they busted out Spotify and playing all, and so the whole day we were listening to Bob Dylan type music and songs, and it was cool, man.
Sounds like a good thing, man.
Yeah, it was cool. And then so we did some recording and stuff, and they had me, sit behind the big white lights, and they were actually doing some recording for this project that's coming up, and I got to share my story and share some love for the Divi and whatnot. And I was super nervous because I wasn't expecting like big bright lights and all that special setup. And so they were joking around on how much they hate doing videos, and they were sharing their stories and how they make fun of each other. And one Mitch was sharing a story that he took a video and his hair was kind of funny, and he didn't like it, but they posted it anyways. And Kenny Singh sent an image to the whole group circling his hair and saying like what the heck or something like that. Hey, they were really fun and man, we had a good
So they're like us.
Totally like us. Totally down to earth. They're just into web design. They don't like taking pictures of themselves. They don't like any of that. Nick was even telling a funny story. He was telling how last year was the first time somebody recognized him on the street, and he was sitting there having wine with his girlfriend, and this guy walks by and says, "Dude, you're Nick Roach." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." He's all, "Oh, cool, man."
Oh,
And then
wow,
so he goes down the street. Then he comes back with his wife and he's like, "Honey, this is Nick Roach." And she's like, "Okay."
Yeah, that'd be me.
And he was cracking up. And he tells his son, "Look, son, this is Nick Roach." And the son was like just staring at his phone like, "Whatever, Dad."
Oh man, that is so funny.
It was fun, man, but it was cool.
Gosh.
It was a really cool time. I'm excited that they're going to be coming down to Orange County and get to meet some of the other folks, and I think that'll be so neat.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting some of our guys too. It's going to be really neat. One of them has a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
His name's David. Do you plan on collaborating with any other developers to create unique products outside of what you've already talked about so far?
Yeah, working with other developers for unique products. Well, right now I am working with a couple of developers that are listed on my team page. Mohit being one of them. He's expressed interest in getting into the child theme and third-party product market. So we're talking about doing a collaboration. Right now, he's helping me revamp my old projects and add new features that were just in the style sheet. Now we're going to add to the customizer. So he's helping me do that right now. I don't have anything else in the works as far as products and projects, but I am working with a couple designers. Wait till you see our next child theme that's coming out. Andrea, who had the never-ending loop earlier.
She apologized.
She's an amazing designer and has always been shy about sharing her work in the groups, and I'm trying to encourage her to. But she has an amazing design that I'm working on, and so I think I'll always be working with designers on projects, and I hope to do another one with Leslie soon, but it's been a crazy year for all of us, so I know it won't happen anytime soon. But yeah, absolutely. And I'm open to collaborations. I just haven't really had time these last couple months to plan anything out.
Right. Okay. We've had a lot of good discussion on name your price and bundle packaging and things like that. So that's good. I think we all learn a lot from each other, and I think it also depends on the market you're in and just what works for you according to your own business plan and your own ideas of what you want to do. I mean, the market is so large. I mean, it seems like a lot is happening right now, but I think that we're just barely tapping into the beginning of this environment, especially with Divi and Extra. And considering that, Geno, and considering that we're just almost at the top of the hour, can you give us an idea of what your pulse on the future of the Divi community might be, considering what you're doing now and what you've seen? I know there's some things you can't say, but maybe you can just kind of generalize for us.
Yeah, I definitely see the Divi community, as far as products go, really evolve in the next year. We're going to see, especially when they launch the marketplace, it'll be unique, and so I don't think that Monterey Premier in any way will be competing with them. That's not the plan. Otherwise, I would not be promoting Monterey Premier at all, knowing what I know. So yeah. Obviously, I think there's going to be some differences and some niche differences in how they're going to serve the Elegant Theme members and in what ways. And I hope to be able to provide products to be sold in Elegant Themes Marketplace. But it's really going to evolve, not just in that there will only be layout packs. That'll never be the case, because there's always going to be a need for the more custom functions that will only come in a child theme. You can only do so much with the layout pack. But when we're providing additional functions into the package in a child theme, there's always going to be a need for that. And but I think what we're going to see is it become, like we've talked about before, as widely accepted as Genesis and its framework is, and the themes that are based off of Genesis. I think we're still going in that direction. We're not there yet, and so there's going to be a lot of room for growth. And I like the fact that Nick and his team are going to focus on an evolving product rather than trying to, bust out totally different themes. Why not build an evolving product that can do anything? And I think they're very committed to that, it sounds like. So I'm excited about that. I think what we're going to see is, again, more standards being set. Right now, it's kind of a loose cannon products. There are no standards or regulations. Everybody's kind of just throwing their hat in there with what they have. But I continue to see certain providers, third-party product providers, sort of set the standard as what is a good product versus what is just kind of thrown together. And I for one want to see those standards set, and I think they will be in time as this grows. And I believe that community is going to be encouraged more and more by Elegant Themes on what does real community look like versus what they hope not to see community turn into. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of that coming from them, not in a sort of pick your side kind of way or anything like that. They support any Elegant Theme user, no matter what environment they're coming out of or involved in. So they want to continue to not leave anybody out. So they're very fair and open. And as for me, as far as the future for me, something I'm learning about myself in this last year is I find that starting new things and looking for the next thing is sort of more fun for me than anything else. And so, one of the things you'll see coming out of Monterey Premier, I hope, is to see continue to push the envelope and push forward in entire new areas that we haven't opened up. For example, just the idea of having a Divi child theme marketplace was absurd a year ago. It didn't make any sense. Divi's not a quote unquote, some people would say it's not a framework. In fact, Elegant Theme says Divi's not a framework either. The builder is. The builder's the framework. Divi's just a theme. And so, but anyways, I think what I'm going to be, involved in is working with community members, working with the various Divi groups in taking the community as best as possible, or contributing to the community going into new and bigger places. This WordPress conference, for example, is one of those things, to be able to get 10, 15 people from all over the world to commit on heading out to one location and meeting, and then getting the folks from Elegant Themes to jump on board and head out there. This will be their first WordPress conference in years. They don't go to those events too often. And so we've made something big happen, and that's exciting for me, and I'm excited to see what's going to come out of that. And I think that's what I'm going to be focusing more and more time on as I automate the marketplace process and build out the team for web design, and is continue to look for how we can get involved in new areas, expand our presence as a community.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, well, I just wanted to, since you were talking about, the expanding marketplace, I know I can think of about at least 5 people off the top of my head who I know have said recently, whether in discussions online or to me personally, like, hey, I'm going to be getting into the child theme business also. Do you think at some point there would need to be any kind of, I guess everybody's at their own skill level. Do you think there needs to be a division of I guess, premium versus.
Oh.
I mean, there's going to be standards, at some point coming. I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. In fact, I tried to tackle that without, in the marketplace so that people get a feel for what they're getting. So, I don't want to say any child theme is better than another. They're all different. So what I did is, I sort of at least tried to break it down into categories like, okay, this is a one-page site. So this is, so all the one-page websites are here on this marketplace. There's some child themes out there that don't have necessarily layout pages. They're just child theme with additional functionality, like a widgetized header, or Aspen Groves has a few, it's just a basic child theme without pages, but it has their plugins built into it.
Oh, yeah.
So trying to separate, this is sort of a core child theme. This is a premium child theme with this many pages and this much functionality. And I think that's going to evolve, but you nailed it, because that's what I think we're going to try to do. At least I believe that if we're going to grow and be like legit in the eyes of WordPress, that we do have to set some standards, because the reality is we did come out and become this loose cannon in the eyes of WordPress. They come into our groups and they're like, who are these people and what the hell are they doing? It's like,
what world are they building?
They're like creating their own marketplaces. Don't you know we have Envato? Don't you know we have standards? Don't you know
Forest is already out there?
we're like Narnia, dude. We're taking this to a different level. And you know what? We have the numbers in our communities to do that. And I think there's so much potential and power in those numbers that we can establish a legitimacy. And you know what, to be honest with you, I had a good conversation with Nick and Mitch and Andy, and how they wanted to sell in Envato, but Envato is like, you can only be exclusive. You can't sell your products anywhere else. And then they cut into the prices so gnarly. And there's just so many things about Envato that not only killed certain developers, but it killed out other theme shops, not Theme Monster, I think they're still around, but other big theme stores shut down after that. Envato basically knocked everyone out. So I think we have a chance and an opportunity to do something that will impact WordPress community in general, and still try to not be, we don't want to be greedy. We don't want to change the openness of Divi and GPL, but I do think that we can do something very different and new and exciting to help encourage new designers and developers. So how that lays out, I think that's what we're talking about in days to come as what needs to be set up as a standard.
Interesting. Cool.
Very nice. Okay, we're 6 minutes after the top of the hour. We generally try to schedule these things to last about an hour. They've been lasting a little longer. But since we do respect everyone's time, and thanks everyone very much for being here, we do very much appreciate it. And don't forget, we'll have these recordings added to our YouTube channel within a few days after this. So one of my last questions, Geno, you pretty much answered, and that is promoting yourselves within the community, coming up with products. It's worth the time spent. Is that what you would say?
It's worth the time stamp?
Worth the time spent.
Time spent, yes.
That twang, this Texas twang is coming.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. And sure, y'all, I think it's good time spent.
Well, dog dang. We do appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming out, y'all. Come back when you can't stay small.
Absolutely. I encourage designers and developers, keep pushing at it. It's going to, it helps you, it helps the community. We'll find a balance as to what should be free and what should be paid for, including us as child theme developers as well. Craig makes a lot of good points, and others as well. But I think as we continue to move forward, getting your stuff out there, investing that time and coming up with new plugins, child themes, layout packs, is going to help this community. Because the reality is, Divi Community is different because a majority of the users are new to WordPress. So
Yeah,
we're a very
yeah.
different community than generally WordPress. And I think that's what we have to embrace. People complain about it like there's too many newbies. What are you guys doing? Well, that's who our market base is. That's who
Yeah.
Elegant Themes' market base is. So
Right.
that's what Elegant Themes
Yeah,
wants to
and
make.
it has been since the beginning. I don't think they've ever, hidden that that's who they were targeting or anything like that, and they haven't changed it.
That's right. That's right.
And Tammy brought up a good point a little bit ago. Chris Lima is one of the more famous people in the WordPress ecosphere. At one point, he didn't have much of a good opinion on Divi, and Tammy just shared that he said in St. Louis at the WordCamp there that Divi isn't going away anytime soon. I'd say it's not going away anytime
Ever.
ever. Exactly.
No, it's not going away soon. And Nick's comment was regarding adding the front end page builder and the things that they're doing with Divi. It's like people can complain and criticize, but the demand is what sets their development.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And page builder, front end page builder, is going to be on every theme in just a matter of time. So, and they do a lot of statistics. They do a lot of numbers, and I was pretty impressed by just the research and information they have their hands on. So, I can say you're right. Page builder's not going away anywhere soon, and front end page building is going to be the new thing, and we just need to evolve and be there before it lands.
Well, and just like any business or industry, not everyone's ever going to be happy. So they can't really worry about that.
That's right. That's right.
And I have one more thing. Leslie might have something after this to kind of try to get us towards wrapping up a little bit. You were talking about what Nick and Andy and all the other guys have going on. They are super busy. I'm going to bet that they really appreciate our Divi community and Facebook and places like that in regards to supporting their customers.
Yes. Yes, they are. They acknowledge that a lot when I was there. And Nick acknowledged that, I believe. I think I recall him saying that as well. But they really want to support the Divi community, and they really don't want to. They want to be fair and balanced. I know that's sort of cliche from Fox News, but they really do. They want to enable all the various Facebook groups, communities, and even marketplaces to thrive. A role of how do we do that and still kind of keep everything WordPress community minded. How do we support that? So they're really looking at ways to do something really cool in the community. I mean, Nathan's their community guy. He's the man. But it's neat being able to connect with him and get their thumbs up and have that kind of communication line going on behind the scenes. It's been really neat. I think they're all for it.
Fantastic. This is all exciting stuff. It's just we're on the cusp. The tip of the iceberg was. I didn't think that a little while ago. I thought, man, it's already too late. But especially the last month or so, I've seen the scope of what's in the Divi community, and it is much larger than what I think just about all of us even realize. So now is the time to be part of the community and get involved. If you had been involved in Microsoft when they first started, so it was being the 8th subscriber, 1 million subscribers. That, and hopefully that'll work out. That would be nice. Anybody else have any questions for Geno while we've got him? This is your chance.
Yeah, and this is great. I'm usually able to look at all the questions but I'm not being distracted here, guys. So if we missed
Where
any
do you buy your shirts?
My Hawaiian shirts? Big and tall XL.
Right. I've been scrolling through here. If I missed a question that hasn't been answered, you just pop it while I'm scrolling through here. And I guess the last thing it looks like, unless another question comes up, and everything else going on, Geno, with the marketplace and all your plans for the future, how did you come to get involved with this, what we're doing now, the Divi Community Q&A sessions? Well, obviously, we plan on it. Some good growth with this is what's one little aspect of what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. Chathura approached me with his idea to do this. And initially it was, would you mind being our first guest? And I was like, of course, this sounds like a great idea. We didn't know, as you know, we didn't know exactly what this was going to evolve into.
Yeah.
It just started out as, wouldn't it be cool to have a live, people can ask you questions for an hour. We just type in the answers, no audio, no nothing, just a free hour session to ask you questions. And it was like, cool, okay, let's do this. Then this is much better than me trying to answer questions typing, because I have King Kong hands, and I'm not really that bad of a speller, but my grammar is always bad when I type it, and because I'm just like, and then I just hit send. I don't read it or nothing.
And fingers have their own Hawaiian shirts, right?
Yeah. and so, but once we had that second episode, I just really felt like, because we had so much fun, and Olga is so great to talk to, and I love how she's like, hey, what? Tammy's here. Question Tammy. Tammy's like, what? And she gave us some insight, and we just kind of started to get that feel of community and being the voices.
Yeah.
I think that episode heard Sarah. She had her mic off, and we can hear her and the kids, and it just felt like fun, And then, like these episodes more fun, and every time, and so it's like, you know what, we're by no means we're competing with Divi Nation. What they're doing is awesome and way beyond anything we're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. But we are different in that. We're kind of like freestyling it here. You know what I mean? We're just like, whatever happens.
Just chatting and learning about each other and answering questions at the same time.
Yeah. And I'm getting more familiar with people. I think, just some of the folks in here that have been here on a regular basis, and I'm getting to chat with them and hear their questions. I just feel like I'm getting to know people better, because it's kind of hard in the Facebook groups, because things just get scrolled down the page so fast. And, but here I get to hear people's personality, even if they're only typing a little bit better.
Exactly. All right. I'm not seeing anything else. Leslie, have you caught any unanswered questions?
No, I think I think that's good. I haven't seen any other questions, and I don't have any more.
Well, I've pretty much covered what I had written down.
Cool. Yeah, I think that just about covers it, other than we'll let auditioning for the remake of Mrs. Christie, the Ransom Man. Possibly, if they give us a call, maybe. Huh, Leslie?
Right.
I'd be happy to.
If the pay's right.
Yeah. That would be great. All right. Well, with that, I guess
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, so much. We'll continue to do these every week, as far as I know. We're growing. We have, almost 70 people now registered. And as of a couple of days ago, we'd already had 300 plus views or listens, whatever you want to call them, to the stuff that we have on YouTube. So this is a growing thing for us as well. It's really exciting. For me personally, it's great to get to talk and chat with everybody, get to know a little bit about them, backgrounds, and all that kind of thing. So like I was saying, this audio will be available on YouTube within the next few days to go along with what we've already got there. So if that's it, then we're going to say goodbye for now. Thanks a bunch, very much, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Guys.